You're listening to Who's Tom and Dick, a weekly podcast with your hosts, Martin Weavers, fighting stage 4 lung cancer, and Patrick Mortimer, living with heart disease. Why not grab yourself a cup of coffee, sit back, and enjoy the chatter as we discuss and share information, talking about tough subjects, and offering help, support, and motivation with a positive middle attitude.
Good morning and welcome to Who's Tom and Dick, and welcome on this Friday morning. Good morning, Martin. How are you?
Good morning, Patrick. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. We're joined this morning by another guest, which I'm excited about. This guest, Stephen Reed, has had a cardiac arrest and has now started an amazing charity providing defibrillators to the Isle of Wight. Good morning, Stephen Reed, and welcome to Who's Tom and Dick.
Good morning, guys. Lovely to meet you.
We can call you Steve, can we?
Yeah, I prefer Steve. Yeah. Unless I do something wrong, then it's Stephen, as my mum says.
That's right. Yeah. How are you? All right?
Yes. Yeah. Not too bad, thank you. Yeah, still taking the tablets and doing as I'm told. So yeah.
John,
we all must rattle between us, I should think, with the tablets we have to take.
Yeah, I kind of think I'm the NHS's guinea pig when it comes to heart failure pills and that, So,
right.
Yeah, plenty of rattling. But
really,
we wake up every morning, so that's the main thing.
That's right. Yeah.
Welcome to Who's Tom and Dick, Steve. And would you please tell us the story from the beginning, from when you had your cardiac arrest and how it all panned out for you?
Yes, certainly. Yes. Thanks for inviting me on and to tell my story. So in 2017, I was going out doing my daily job. I had my own business delivering magazines. As ironic as it is, that day I was actually working for the British Heart Foundation.
Oh God.
Yeah, I've been to the mainland to collect stock to bring back to the island, shops on the island. I caught the early morning boat across from the Isle of Wight, visited 3 shops on the mainland, and caught the ferry back to the island. And they wanted me back before 5 o'clock because we wanted to unload the van before the shop shut. So I went to Newport and we unloaded. Felt fine, no problem at all. Left Newport to come home where I live in Shanklin. Got about halfway and I stopped to ring my wife, and she said, "Oh, you sound a bit tired." I said, "Yeah, a bit of a long day." She said, "Well, go on home and I'll see you at home." Now, this is the only time I didn't listen to my wife.
Right.
So I said, "Yeah, a bit of a long day." She said, "Right, I'll see you at home." So as I was coming into Shanklin, I thought something's not right. I had my watch on, and the app on my watch, the little heart app, was going absolutely not normal.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, it was though I was just sat in a bath. The sweat just absolutely drained off of me. So I thought, I don't know, I'm going to go and see. But I felt fine, did have no pains, no nothing. I thought, I know the girls in our local chemist, so I'll just go and pop in there, probably get an aspirin or something. So it was 17th of June, quite busy on the Isle of Wight, on our main high street where the chemist is. Nowhere to park. So the only place I could park was in the big co-op. So I remember driving in, parking my van up, getting out my van, locking the door, and that was it.
Right.
Next thing I remember was waking up 14 hours later with all these lights, bright lights and music playing. I thought I popped upstairs to see the main man. I was in what they call the cath lab in Portsmouth Hospital.
Right.
And obviously of the days and everything, after about half an hour, the doctor said to me, "You've had a STEMI heart attack and a cardiac arrest.
Mm-hmm.
And you're very lucky to be here."
Really?
Which obviously blew my mind. So I stayed in hospital for 2 weeks, come out, had to give up my own work and everything, my own business and everything. And for a year, I was mentally in a really bad place. Like, I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to see no one. I didn't want to speak to no one. Everything prior to me having that episode,
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to push aside. And it was my cardiologist in Portsmouth. I had to keep going over 3 months for checks. And he said, "Steve," he says, I kind of guess you're in a bit of a bad place. He said, "I can see you're in a bad place." I said, "Yeah." He said, "I kind of guess you're not the type of guy that wants to sit at home all day, feet on the sofa, watching Loose Women all day. And I said, definitely not, definitely not. He said, well, do yourself a favour, take this card and make a phone call. So after about a fortnight, I made the phone call and I went for counselling for another year. So that was like for 2 years. So, you know, I kind of like to bring in my story. You know, I do suffer with mental health, and mental health is a big thing, you know, and it needs for you, or it's certainly needed for me to talk about it, because I'd hate to think where I will be now if I didn't go for that counselling.
Yeah.
I really do. I really do. So I kind of looked at, how about let's look into getting a couple of defibs. If I rewind a little bit, I kind of wanted to find out what happened that day.
Yeah.
So someone saw me on the corner, which is by our police station, but there was no recollection of me on my phone or anything. And what I actually done, I actually put one foot inside our local medical centre and collapsed on some poor holiday maker that was waiting to have his blood pressure taken.
Right.
Wow.
Apparently frightened the life out of all the staff in the medical centre, and some guy who was sat waiting to be seen by the doctor come up and felt I didn't have a pulse, so he started the CPR.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a defib at the time in the medical centre, so someone had to run up to our church where there is the public access defib, bring it back, and shock me.
Yeah.
But on the run up to that, they didn't think they were going to stable me enough, so all my family were called to meet us up at the hospital to say their goodbyes and that, because they thought I was, you know, a goner.
Mm-hmm.
But the wonderful NHS stabled me enough to fly across to the mainland. So yeah, going back to, you know, trying to get back to a little bit of normality afterwards, I looked at, you know, pricing defibs up, seeing how we could do it, possibly starting a charity. And we actually registered our charity during the first lockdown.
Yeah.
Views of looking at fundraising donations for defibrillators around the island. So we registered it. We've got 4 really good trustees, but my aim was to register the charity and run the charity as a non-profit charity. You know, every penny we got, received or anything would go into funding defibs for our local community. So we registered and away we go. And to date, I'm really pleased to say, I do get a little bit emotional every time I mention it, but last week we put our 189th defibrillator.
Wow.
And for me, once a month, you know, what used to take me a couple of hours when we first started to check these defibs now takes me 2 weeks, because I physically go round, make sure in these defibrillators, batteries are okay, pads are okay, because the actual thought of a defib out there that is going to needed, the batteries are out or the pads are out of date, absolutely frightens me to death. So last week 189th, and we're normally putting out between anything up to about half a dozen a month at the moment.
Yeah.
Wow, that's brilliant.
You know, that's all done through donations, fundraising. We got some, really wonderful shops, businesses, and general public on board who support us.
Yeah.
But this year, we've also kind of felt it's all very well putting 189 defibrillators out, but if people don't have a little bit of a noddle to do something in the event of a cardiac emergency, so we've been going out this year to schools, colleges, businesses, everywhere, just to promote the awareness and importance of CPR and, early access to a public access defibrillator.
Yeah.
The importance of, I think it's down to less than 3 minutes now. If nothing's done within that time, the chance of survival for that patient is, decreases every second. So they are really important. But as I say, so we go out, we show with our mannequins, with our team of mannequins, we teach people CPR, we take our training defibs, we show them, just to try and get that awareness out that, you might not be able to do CPR, but it doesn't mean to say you can't do nothing. Like 999, you can, wait for the ambulance, you could shout for help, and by you doing that little bit, is always better than doing nothing.
Yeah.
Would you be able to explain to our listeners the difference between a heart attack and cardiac arrest?
Certainly. A lot of people, and I probably did before I even knew about it, think a heart attack is the same as a cardiac arrest. What happens with a heart attack is that's the blood supply of your heart. And with a heart attack, you'd probably still be conscious. But what it is one of the arteries or something gets blocked or whatever, which could lead on to a heart attack. A heart attack can lead into a cardiac arrest. With a cardiac arrest, what happens, that's the electrical side of your heart. Instead of a nice normal beat, it goes into a massive, great big spasm, and the patient will become unconscious. So the CPR is obviously to keep the blood flowing. We don't want to stop the blood flowing. That's why we push hard and we push fast, because we want it to, not starve the brain. So that's why we got to push hard and fast. And with the cardiac arrest, the use of the defib is to give the heart a shock to put it back, hopefully, into a normal rhythm.
Yeah.
People can have, you can have a heart attack. You can have a separate cardiac arrest. Like me, I had a heart attack which led into cardiac arrest, but 9 times out of 10, it could be a cardiac arrest could be with other health issues going on inside the patient.
Yeah.
So, there is a vast, as I say, you wouldn't do CPR, or you certainly wouldn't use a defib on a conscious patient that's had a heart attack, a normal breathing patient, With a cardiac arrest, everything stops. You do your checks, your breathing checks, any signs of breathing or whatever. When I say not normal breathing, there could be like what they call agonal breathing, which is, like that. So that's classified as not normal breathing.
Yeah.
So then obviously it's, same with a heart attack. It's always 999, medical emergency, straight on with the CPR, and hopefully, you've got a near public access defibrillator that can be accessed.
Yeah. So you had no other than feeling hot and clammy and sweaty?
No. It was just like I was sat in a bucket of water.
Right.
By my watch, it was just like I sat in a bucket of water or under a shower. The sweat just absolutely drained from me.
Yeah.
But that's people say, well, didn't you have the pain up the arm or whatever in the jaw? I said, no, not at all.
No.
I had no pain whatsoever.
So there is no main hospital on the Isle of Wight then, is there?
We've got a main hospital on the Isle of Wight, but the main cardiac department at that time is in Portsmouth or Southampton on the mainland.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that when you're saying that. You got and he's airlifted.
Yeah, airlifted. We have a Hampshire and Isle of Wight air ambulance, which is based in Thruxton at the moment. But 9 times out of 10, if it is a cardiac emergency on the island, the patient will be flown across to the mainland.
Mm.
So moving on to the charity side of things.
Yeah.
How does the charity decide where to place new defibrillators?
So we have quite a few businesses. We kind of map the island out to how, the time it takes to access a defibrillator.
Yeah.
We've got one of our main towns, which is Newport, and it still needs more defibrillators.
Mm-hmm.
When you think that time to actually getting a defib, 3 minutes is not a lot of time.
No.
We kind of map the Isle of Wight. We kind of look at rural areas especially. We've also got them now made sure that every recreation ground on the Isle of Wight's got one.
Mm-hmm.
We've been lucky enough to be supported by the Premier League for grassroots football. So, we've managed to site them at the youth football clubs.
Mm-hmm.
And we also go on to train or teach the kids the CPR and defibrillator, because a lot of people still think it happens to the older generation, but in fact it can happen to anyone at any time.
We can see that with those footballers recently, wasn't there? The Luton guy, the Spurs guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you think they're fully fit. And
that's right. Yeah, that's one of the big things we try and make awareness now. I mean, one of our big things is this year I've only just received a female CPR mannequin.
Yeah.
One with boobs.
Yeah.
Because of the stigma, and I think it's the world we live in these days. Like, a female collapses with a cardiac arrest, that bystander's going to think about, well, if I've got to undo the top and everything, remove the bra to put the pads on, and she wakes up or anything, am I going to be in court next week?
Yeah.
So this year as well, we're trying to push that it does happen to females. And as I say, we've just got our first female mannequin, whereas before we would have to put a bra on a man mannequin to make, it's just a stigma of doing something. But as yet, no one's been fined, no one's been sued. So, but it is trying to get that awareness across.
Yeah. All very well funding for these defibrillators.
Yeah.
Then you've got to find a location where you can put them and get them wired in, haven't you?
Yes, so they got to be the big yellow cabinets you see on the buildings or whatever. There's two types of cabinets. There's a lock cabinet and an unlock cabinet. We try and get as many unlocked cabinets out as possible for the time it takes to get in.
Yeah.
But then you have to weigh up the pros and cons of vandalism. Does it get pinched or whatever? When you think all that cabinet is really is a heater and a light, it doesn't power the defib itself. The defib had its own power. So there's all that to take into, have to think about and everything. And it's one of them things. Obviously, a lot of shops, businesses they say, we'll have a defib, but we don't really want to have the worry of checking it. So that's what we do now with our package. We say, well, if we got a donation for a defib, we will supply it, install it, maintain it, look after it, register it with emergency services, and clean it once a month.
Yeah.
And we're lucky enough to one of our supporters has put us out a website, and on our website, as soon as you click on our main website, it comes up with a big red heart. And if you click on that red heart, we're trying to map every defib on the Isle of Wight. So
I saw that.
Yeah. So, that's ever changing every day.
I just read it recently before we knew we was going to talk to you, because it said there are 34 sighted across the island.
Yeah, that's
I think you need to change that one now.
I do. Yeah, I'll be on to my supporter later on this afternoon.
Yeah, tell him it's noted.
Yeah.
But no, it's just brilliant. So you just said about grants and all that. What else do you do to raise money? You had a festival, didn't you?
We had a festival, but I mean, it's like anything. I know every charity is a good charity, but we try and keep our outgoings down to minimum. I think the only outcomes we got is a car expense for one of our volunteers. But like with the festivals and everything, you have to outlay so much money before you even be in a charity. We kind of try and avoid the big festivals. With the small events and everything, we take our mannequins there, we take our training CPRs, we do a lot of the supermarkets in their foyers and everything, we hold raffles. We've even got a little 1989 Nissan Escargot. We put a coffee van in, and we take that events and that, just to raise some funds.
The businesses and like private houses say, yes, we'll have one in our house, or
Yeah, we've had really good support from especially private houses and that, if they're in little communities or whatever, they say, you're interested in having a defib, can you come and talk to us about it? And we've got quite a few dotted around the island on people's houses. We've got them. There's a couple of churches that haven't got electricity, so they're in insulated cabinets stuck on a pole, and just at the entrance to the church and everything. So
what's the weirdest place you've got one? Because you get telephone boxes, don't you?
So we got telephone boxes. We got one that's in a waterproof case that goes on the round the island yacht race and everything. One of the yacht clubs on their ocean going yacht have it in a waterproof case. So our aim, as I say, was just to try and pinpoint on the island the places that are really hard to get to or whatever, because we have quite a bit of countryside on the island and lots of walks and everything. So there's so many places that people say to me, why do you think a defib's important? I said, well, it's important to me because I needed one to save my life.
Yeah,
it's one of them things that you want to get so many of them out, but you hope to God that they're never ever needed.
Yeah.
Do you have the same problem we have that, sometimes the defib will get taken by the emergency services. So you've got.
Well, we've got quite a very good, because we name our defibs and number our defibs so much. So what normally happens in the last 3 years, I think we've had 12 of our defibs deployed. So what normally happens is they would take them back to the ambulance station, and then they give me a ring, and then I will go and collect it and bring it, service it, and service it, clean it, and everything before we put it back out into the community.
Mm-hmm. You've got cabinets that are lockable and cabinets that are definitely unlocked.
Yeah.
You've got a sort of a some sort of history line of how the unlocked cabinets behave with the general public and vandalism and that sort of thing.
We've had one, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, we had one that was broken into and taken, and that was in a locked cabinet.
Right.
But that's it, and it really beggars belief that someone would take a, what they're going to do with it. It's probably, they've taken it and chucked it in an edge or something but no, we've got about a dozen unlocked cabinets. And as I say, that's the first time that one of ours has ever
And that's from a lock cabinet, stolen from a lock cabinet.
From a lock cabinet, yeah. Yeah, that's right, yeah. So,
are there various types of, I know you said lockable and unlockable, but is there, a couple of lockable ones, is there various types?
Or I normally try and look at a town, and if a town's got unlocked ones, we try and keep with that over freshwater, the other side of the island, and Topland. All the cabinets over there are unlocked. So, if we site a new one over there, we'll keep in with that because that's unlocked. We've had no problems with the ones over there unlocked. So we try and, we're going to try and eventually, hopefully, have every cabinet unlocked. That would be, obviously, you can never, ever say that you're going to have one tampered with, you're going to have one stolen or whatever. But, I'd hate to, I hope to think that they are safe and they're there for a reason, and people understand that.
Yeah. How much does a unit cost then to supply?
A defib and a yellow outside heated cabinet, you're looking up to about £1,500–1,600.
Yeah.
I just wish that the government and that would be more open-minded about it. We have to pay VAT on a defibrillator, so.
Oh, God.
And if you didn't have to pay the VAT, so every 5 defibs you buy, the 6 ones, the VAT and that, so.
A lot of people don't realise that the fundraising must go on, because it's not only a case of buying the defibrillators. You've got to maintain them, haven't they? And the batteries and the pads have only got a life.
Yeah. And now, from the first ones we started putting out, obviously now we're looking at changing the batteries, changing the pads. On some of the models that's out there, a battery will cost up to about £300.
Yeah.
And the pads can cost £150. So, that side of it, we have to obviously keep a pot in reserve for batteries and that.
Yeah.
So have you covered most of the areas that you'd like to? I know you always want more.
Yeah, no, there's still, as I say, we've had so much support from community groups, women's institutes and things like that kind of, we haven't got a defib in our area, or, one might be about 10 minutes, quarter of an hour away. What's involved? And especially with groups like that, they're keen to fundraise in that, because they like to put their name to it. It's good for the communities as well. Involved. They like to be involved. So there's always room for more, I say. All right.
I think so. Even in my village where I live, I mean, the nearest one to me is my village hall.
Really?
I mean, that would take at least 5 minutes in a car.
Really?
To get to. Yeah. But then thinking where I live, there's not really a built, I mean, like you said, on someone's house, perhaps, a place where you could actually put them. But
yeah. And then, that's the importance of the CPR. We don't pressurise people to have a go, but we like people to have a go to realise how tiring and how the time it takes and how difficult it is to keep going, especially if there's one or two of you. And the defib's about, 10 minutes, quarter of an hour down the road. So, as I say, there's always room for more out there. But again, as long as they are, I know with ours will always maintain well. I maintain them and everything and that, but there are certain areas that have defibs that, especially since COVID, every defib is meant to have what they call a guardian, someone who looks after it, checks everything and that. But if it was on a shop or a business or whatever, that guardian may have moved on, and it hasn't been replaced. So we've come across a couple of defibs that either pads have run out and batteries. So it's a really important thing to keep them up to date, keep them the registered checked, so they're always rescue ready on the emergency service. I'd hate to think of an ambulance or someone going to pick a defib up and battery's flat.
You're doing a fantastic job. So what have you got lined up for the future for fundraising?
For me, it's been not just a mission, but it's been a purpose. It's given me a purpose to do something, and it's especially with my mental health as well. It's given me a purpose. It gets me out. It does. People ring me up and say, "Oh, we're thinking about getting a defib." And, our main aim is to make that happen for that person, So we've got, through the summer, we've got events coming up. We've got August bank holiday. There's a lot of scooters come over to the island, and there's quite a few businesses having us as their charity this year. What they make and everything all goes to getting a defib out. We also like them to get involved, because then if they raise enough money to get one defib out, we will say to them, well, have you got any where you would like it cited? And then we get them a plaque above where this was donated by. Yeah. It's not just a case of stick it on the wall, thank you very much, and away you go. Like, we keep them involved. Our support group's really big for us and that. So we kind of call them part of our family and friends and that. So
you must be well known on the island now, are you?
Well, I'm one of them that I don't like any publicity towards myself. Yeah. I do it because I needed one to save my life. The local papers and that ring me up and say, no, it's not. It's, when we put a defib up, we always get the business involved. They have their photo taken with the defib, and that's the way I like it. As I say, that year after me, I didn't want to talk to it. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to, through counselling and that, it's enabled me to come out and talk to you guys.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I know I appreciate, talking to you guys. Thank you very much.
No, you're welcome. Obviously, you've bought quite a few defibrillators now. Have you got a preferred model that you'd buy, that you'd recommend?
We kind of like what they call, which is the CUSP1. They're called iPads.
Right.
The thing we like about them is they have a lot of defibs out there are for adult patients. They have one set of pads. And if a young person between the age of 1 and 8 it's needed for, then you would have to look at changing the pad, battery and everything and that. But this iPad, it's got one set of pads and it's got a switch on the top for pediatric and for adult mode. So it's just a case of flicking it across on that.
You say you go around and maintain them all.
Mm.
Do you standardise the access code? Because otherwise you'd have a whole list of access codes, wouldn't you?
Yes.
So you have the same access code for all of them.
Yes. Yeah. We have an access code for them that I like to physically open the cabinet, get the defib out, make sure the pads are in date, make sure the battery's in date, give it a clean, give it a check, and press the test button, and away we go.
Yeah. Well, that's brilliant. Steve, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thanks for being so honest about your health and everything like that.
No. Yeah, it's the only thing I didn't say was in 2019, because my heart was in a pretty bad way. I had to have my own defib and pacemaker put in. Oh. So in August, I got to go back to QA to have a check.
That's another podcast, that is, talking about that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but it's, as I say, thanks very much, guys, for inviting me on. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. Pleasure meeting you. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for coming on.
How would anybody get in touch with you to make a contribution or?
So our website is www.iowdefibrillators.uk. There is a donate button on there. It's a small charity. Someone could give me a penny. Someone could give me £1 million. I love them either way. So, and it does. It all goes to.
Excellent.
It all goes to in the pot to get life-saving defibs out there. So.
Yeah, brilliant. You're
doing a grand job, mate. Well done.
Job.
Bless you both. Thank you very much. It's been lovely meeting you guys.
Thanks for taking the time to come on.
And you keep up the good work.
Cheers. Thank you.
All right. Take care,
Thanks
guys.
a lot, Steve.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
All the best. Bye-bye. Bye.
Well, that was very interesting. I didn't mention about my involvement with Sudbury Defibrillators because I found it interesting that to hear it from a completely independent side.
Yeah, I nearly mentioned about you, so I'm glad I didn't then if you wanted to keep it like that. Yeah, but it is nice to know how other people in certain areas.
He's made an amazing effort and got an amazing amount of defibs in the Isle of Wight.
Well, he's the main man, isn't he, it seems?
Absolutely incredible.
He should be congratulated, really. And I hope our listeners found that interesting.
Yes, so if you want to donate or support Steve, you can go to his website on IOW Defibrillators.uk.
Yeah.
That winds it up for this week, Martin.
It certainly does, Patrick.
And
thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for listening, and we'll be back again, same time, same place, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.
Yeah, see you next week, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, bye.
You've been listening to the Who's Tom and Dick podcast with your hosts, Martin Weavers and Patrick Mortimer. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite streaming platform. New episodes are available every Friday. Thanks for tuning in.